Right, so we have two of the biggest competitors. One of them running the biggest Pokemon in Wailord EX. One of them trying to push his title as the GOAT. I'm not talking about the Go variety, I mean the greatest of all time. Let's see this match. Let's get it started.
And I cannot wait to watch this matchup. I mean, how can Jason Kozinski overcome this one? We've seen him overcome the odds time and time again, but is this just too much? Is this too much to overcome? We saw him defeat that Virizion Genesect deck, his auto loss at the regional championships, but now, how do you beat Wailord?
You know, I can only imagine Jason is a very intelligent player. He has probably labbed it a little bit, you know, thought about some of his different situations. I know if there's anybody that's as good as him at theory crafting in the Pokemon trading card game, I don't know if I've met them. So we'll see what he's able to do. You might see some unorthodox strategies. And
oh, no.
Immediately, we see Jason picking up that Wailord. What does this card do?
And Enrique picking up the Trubbish of Jason. Not exactly what he wants to start with. A Pokemon with a high retreat cost. It's not something you want to see. And, of course, Pound does 20 damage. Take quite a few of those to take down a Wailord.
Hey, if we're going to be honest here, Pound is just a little bit short of the damage that you could see out of Seismitoad. That being said, though, we're talking about a 250 HP wall that can instantly heal itself with multiple supporters, item cards if Enrique ever does have the opportunity. Jason, of course, hoping to find an immediate way to shut them off. But otherwise, it's going to be the literal biggest hurdle I think Jason has ever encountered in his Pokemon trading card game career.
Oh, man, and Jason has to play that Professor Sycamore right away. That's probably not what he wants to do.
That hurts. That hurts to see.
When a deck is trying to deck you out, the last thing you want to have to do is discard your hand and draw 7 cards, but he was left with nothing. He probably feels like he needs to get Quaking Punch going immediately to have any chance in this matchup, so giving Enrique any turn of item cards is not an option. So he has to dig through his cards. It hurts him a little bit, but at the end of the day, it's got to be his best strategy.
And immediately I'm seeing some like disruption cards that Jason runs. Normally great against about every other card in the metagame. Something like Crushing Hammer. He will never play a Crushing Hammer to discard an energy because Enrique runs 0 energy.
And there we're going to see a typical turn from Enrique. Puts down a Hard Charm and a Silent Lab. Pass. None of his turns will end with attacks. His turn every time will end the same way. Pass. That is all his deck is designed to do. Look at that picture of that big Wailord EX, 250 HP. And its attack costs 5 energy. There's no way you're going to bother powering that up.
In the words of the great Boomy from Avatar, sometimes the best solution is to do nothing. Wailord, all about nothing.
That's right. So Jason will play an Ultra Ball here. If there's any silver lining, it's that he got through the first turn without encountering one of those enhanced hammers or those team flare grunts or zero sick that Enrique plays. Ton of energy denial. That double colorless actually stayed on his Trubbish. So if he can find Seismitoad EX, retreat, and Quaking Punch, he'll do 10 damage.
Oh man, yeah, that Hard Charm is going to be buffering 20 damage over and over again, unless Jason can find it. Does he run like a Zero Sick or something? I guess
he does run one.
He can remove it, and then maybe once he starts getting those Quaking Punches going, you know, Enrique can't attach another one. But for now, that single whale is a monstrosity.
Yeah, I think we're about to experience a simultaneously hilarious and painful match as both players do some funny things, especially on Enrique's side. But this is certain to take a long time. I can't see this taking any fewer than like 30 turns or more.
I have once upon a time heard of a Pokemon trading card game deck that uses no energy. That would be Gyarados. Yeah. I have not heard of a Pokemon trading card game deck that doesn't attack.
Yeah, I mean, we had one for a little bit a few years ago, that Quad Snorlax deck. That used Hypnotoxic Laser, but that's
walls out with lasers. Yeah, that took prizes, though, even.
Yeah. This is probably the best possible scenario for Jason, but Team Flare Grunt immediately discarding that double colorless energy on his Seismitoad EX. He's down to just 2 double colorless energy already. He did get the Zero Sick and the Muscle Band to Quaking Punch for a full 50 damage, but, well, now he doesn't have energy.
Yeah, I mean, that's step 1 for Enrique, is like remove all of Jason Kozinski's energy. You know, he's not running that many overall. Is that just 7, I think I see on his list?
Yeah, that's right. He does find another double colorless energy, though, and also Burbank City Gym, along with the Hypnotoxic Laser. There is a possibility that Enrique can't find another Pokemon to put on his bench. Wailord probably survives a couple turns, but if he doesn't find another Pokemon, we could see him lose with only a lone Wailord.
Yeah, this could start to pick up fairly quickly. I know Enrique has at least one draw supporter in hand. I think I saw an N in there. He runs for Pokemon Fan Club for this reason. He wants to get his whales out as quickly as possible just so he has backups. That way when he heals one of them with the supporter, he can swap in. Let's see what he's got. Does he have any funny tricks for us now?
Yeah, let's see what he draws this turn. AZ not going to help. That'll pick up his Pokemon and lose the game immediately. Wow, does he have anything here?
Boy, is he just going to pass without even trying to play the N?
Oh, and I think we had a mix-up on the damage there. There's no Burbank City Gym in play, just the Silent Lab staying out there. But here's an N.
He is playing the N. I thought he was adjusting the poison counter and passing again. Starting to get into somewhat dangerous territory, although just look at that Willard. 250 HP.
Yeah, I think, if I remember correctly, Jason did have a Burbank City Gym. Might have opted not to put it down. Maybe he's waiting for those rough seas of Enrique to come out, because once rough seas hits the board, your damage output tanks down to about 20, and man, that takes even more attacks with Quaking Punch.
Yeah, you just don't have that much time to run through this deck. The big thing Enrique definitely is hoping for as he draws these cards is another basic, a rough seas, really just, I guess, anything that can help him heal and anything that can help him replace this Warlord if it does happen to fall.
Right, so here we see the N for 6. Does Enrique find another Pokemon here?
No.
I
don't see it. Oh my goodness.
Well, I mean, he does go up to 120 damage at this point.
Almost halfway there.
And I actually do see he has a couple Pokemon Fan Clubs, so of course, the benefit of this Wailord deck is extremely consistent, since you can run about 30 supporter cards or something ridiculous like that. And also, Wailord survives so long that you have a bunch of turns to just be able to find another basic. So looks like Enrique will be safe, much to the dismay of Jason.
So Jason playing a computer search, discarding 2 cards from his hand that he can search for anything from his deck. I guess if you could find anything from here, what do you think Jason is looking for?
I'm not really sure. Maybe a basic energy. Maybe power up for that grenade hammer. That could be one way for him to deal a little bit more damage, end this game a little faster. Yeah,
he only runs the 3 waters, so I guess he can only set up 1 grenade hammer. If he loses the waters, then that's gone. But it is something, you know. The item lock, maybe not quite as valuable against a deck like this with so many supporters, so perhaps that's an option. It is just strange, you know. You can look at your entire deck. Computer search, such a versatile card, and it's like, water energy.
Yeah, you could play a Professor's Letter and get 2 of those. And you don't have to discard 2 cards.
Something tells me Seismitoad maybe not use the Professor's Letter anytime soon with 3 basics.
Yeah.
So, but hey, for Jason, he realizes one of the things he has to do is get any kind of knockout, try and pull through. Enrique, you know, perhaps 1 whale could fall. He will have to play the deck out game. I know some of these players can take a lot of time. I don't know if you can go a full 75 minutes without a single game ending.
Probably
we'll see,
not.
though.
All right, so we do see another energy go on to that Seismitoad EX. That's going to do 2 things. The first thing, he could power up for Grenade Hammer if he really wants to reach and be more aggressive. Second thing, it makes him a little more resilient against things like Team Flare Grunt and Zero Sick. But here we see the Pokemon Fan Club. Looks like a couple more big basics are going to make their way onto the board.
Oh, yes, and Enrique is a big fan. It looks like he's opting to go for one of each of his incoming Pokemon. Suicune, who has less hit points, only gives up 1 prize card and is immune to EX Pokemon damage. And Wailord, who you've seen, soaks up damage like a sponge.
Right. I think a lot of people are raving over, oh my goodness, Wailord EX, it's everywhere, it's taking over. But I think the unsung hero of this deck is that Suicune. It's really big in a lot of matchups to slow down EX-heavy decks. Like in particular, we saw in the top 4 against that Mega Manectric deck. Without Suicune, I think Enrique probably loses that matchup, but having a safeguard Pokemon to block damage from EXs just makes your opponent burn more resources to get over that hurdle, and it just goes 1 step further to making them run out of cards.
Oh, yeah. In Enrique's top 4 matchup, I saw Suicune really pulled a lot of weight. Yes, his opponent, like Jason Kluzinski, also ran a Garbodor, activated Garbotoxin, shutting off Safeguard, eventually knocking out Suicune. But the fact that your opponent even had to play a Garbodor gave him eventually a window where he could Lysander it up, leave it stuck in the active position, and it could no longer retreat.
Right, here we see a Versus Seeker for Shadow Triad. That's sole purpose is to get back a Hypnotoxic Laser. Ever since the Lysander's trump card ban, every deck has had to adjust a little bit. Shadow Triad is an adjustment Jason had to make for his Seismitoad deck. And speaking of the Lysander's trump card ban, this Wailord deck would not be possible without that. But first Wailord does fall.
That's actually a lot quicker than I've seen a lot of Enrique's games go in the past. He certainly has a lot more walls to go, but Jason is 1/3 of the way there.
Yeah, and here we see the Skyla from Enrique. Usually Skyla is a pretty slow card, but when your deck is really slow, you can afford to play Skyla, and he grabs that Rough Seas Stadium card. Oh no, that means he can heal 30 damage every turn from his water Pokemon, which he only plays water Pokemon.
Now, he actually opts to play it down right away. I wonder, Jason maybe just has a Verbank to replace it. You think maybe holding the Rough Seas until you start taking damage is a good move?
Yeah, it might be. He might have jumped the gun a little bit on that. Alternatively, Silent Lab does shut off Suicune's Safeguard, so that makes a little bit of an awkward situation. But yeah, Verbank City Gym comes in play right away. Another Hypnotoxic Laser. Jason trying his best to take down this Wailord deck.
Well, he hits heads here. He can start applying some serious pressure. 30 damage between turns from Poison while Verbank City's in play. 50 from Quaking Punch. It isn't impressive, but it does add up.
Right, and Enrique, he's just kind of taking his time. We have the most irrelevant sleep flip in the history of the Pokemon TCG.
This Wailord is not retreating. This Wailord is not attacking.
But yeah, we see Enrique had to play Pokemon Fan Club just to get more basics, and he's going to do it again because Wailord's in no danger of being knocked out. But he is holding on to a ton of disruptive supporter cards. He's just waiting to play them. He has a Lysander he can use to bring out Trubbish. He has an AZ he can use to pick up his Wailord EX. He's just biding his time, and when Wailord's about to be knocked out, they'll just scoop it up. And then he'll wait till the next Pokemon takes a bunch of damage, and then he'll scoop it up.
I have seen multiple instances of a 240 damage Wailord EX simply just shuffled into the deck with a Cassius, picked up into the hand with an AZ. And even though Jason is applying this Quaking Punch item lock, which Enrique hasn't had to face against all the decks that he's played, he has so many supporters that still allow him to continue his goal.
Right, and unsurprisingly, Enrique ends his turn with a pass and takes 3 more damage counters from the poison damage and Verbank City Gym, leaving that Wailord EX with just 140 HP. If Jason can find a water energy, he could kind of extend a little bit and go for the Grenade Hammer, maybe try to push for a win, but no, he's sticking with that Quaking Punch.
Yeah, I've been thinking about that. It is strange. The second he does a Grenade Hammer, he can close out a quick knockout. Oh, and here we see one of Enrique's many healing tricks. AZ picks up a Wailord, drops it down, and it's Subway staying fresh.
Yeah, AZ just picks that Wailord up, puts it right back down, promotes a new Wailord, and says, all right, deal with the next one. I got a lot more.
I can do this all day.
In fact, he has done this for 3 days.
Yeah, I don't know how. I would go out of my mind playing this type of deck over a long period of time. I think the only thing maybe powering Enrique is just knowing that he's trolling so many players who have never played the deck before. Just unleashing this new concept that's so foreign in the Pokemon trading card game. And it looks like Jason, knowing that he needs to apply as much damage as possible, playing another Hypnotoxic Laser. And heads, once again, usually we're like on the edge of our seats. Oh, he hit the sleep flip. How's it going to go next turn? Could not matter less.
Yeah, the only relevant thing here is that poison damage, slowly adding up more damage on that 250 HP monster of a Pokemon. And Jason looks like he's going to stick with the same strategy. Plays another Versus Seeker, probably for that Shadow Triad to get another Hypnotoxic Laser so that he can continue to apply pressure.
Yeah, I mean, that'll give him 6 Hypnotoxic Lasers this game. Certainly more than 4. It's not quite as much as the old Lysander trump card format where you had infinite, but then again, in that format, Wailord would never exist.
Oh, the Wailord wakes up.
There it is. He's ready to go. And the crowd goes mild.
So we do see 80 damage on this Wailord EX after the Quaking Punch and Verbank City Gym. Enrique, I mean, he's got all the time in the world. He's got a Suicune he could put down here. My bold prediction, he will pass the turn.
Yeah. Lysander actually opting, hey, Let's see if we can bait some more resources out of Jason.
Wow,
Maybe
what a big
force
play.
Force him to have a float stone. If he doesn't, he's got to burn more energy to move this sack of garbage.
Yeah, that's about as much action you'll see out of the Waylord deck. Plays a supporter card and brings up Trubbish. Now, this is actually really important. A big part of this strategy is wearing your opponent down and running them out of resources. Here we do see the AZ from Jason using the tricks against the Waylord deck, picking up Trubbish. That's actually really big. Now that takes away one way Enrique could slow the game down, and that is Lysander.
Yeah, something tells me, at least not for a while, we probably won't be seeing that Trubbish hit the floor again unless Jason is forced to deal with this Suicune.
And there's an AZ.
See? And he's back again. I've never heard the crowd so excited for damage prevention.
I mean, we've seen offensive formats for so long. I think the people are ready for a little defense.
Well, there's plenty of defense. We're talking the 85 Bears right now.
It's like the steel curtain of Pokemon. All right, so Jason has another Hypnotoxic Laser. I mean, you can play it and then Quaking Punch the Suicune for 0 damage because of Safeguard and slowly try to whittle it away. But this is even more painful because it gives up 1 prize. You can use a Hypnotoxic Laser. That's such a valuable resource for building up damage, but at the end of the day, you'll have to knock out 2 more Waylord EX still.
Yeah, sometimes I've seen Enrique even all right with just leaving the Suicune active and getting knocked out, forcing your opponent to take 7 prizes instead of 6. And we've talked about the 7 prize game for a while. It's a 500 HP 7 prize game when you have 2 remaining Waylord. But actually decides,
Hey,
you know what?
we got a different one. Cassius.
I can heal this way too. Cassius, different in that it shuffles the Pokemon right back into the deck as opposed to popping it back into your hand. And I've even seen him use this to prevent himself from decking out, ways where he can give his deck a larger size while his opponent slowly whittles away.
Right. Cassius in some ways is actually better than AZ. I've seen some crazy games where players try to use the Waylord strategy against them and just draw and pass their turn and don't do anything, try to deck them out, and then I've seen Waylord players put down like a Waylord and a Hard Charm and then Cassius and shuffle 2 cards back into their deck. It's just,
Enrique
oh my goodness.
definitely needed to do that to prevent himself from deck out one of his top 4 matchups.
Right, so we see another Hypnotoxic Laser.
Wow. Is that
Jason at least trying to get knockouts
The
as much
4th,
as he
I
can.
think, Jason has played. I know he's recycled it multiple times. I see 3 in the discard pile, actually.
Right, depends on how many Versus Seeker he has left. Jason, strangely enough, only plays 3 Versus Seeker in his deck. Most players automatically go and play 4, but only 3. That's going to mean he has 1 less Hypnotoxic Laser to deal with.
And one more thing, keeping Seismitoad down, we see the Xerasic discarding a double colorless energy off Seismitoad, forcing Jason to have another energy, and I'm not actually sure he has it in hand.
I mean, yeah, he only plays 7 total energy in his deck, so it's not too surprising that he just doesn't have one in his hand.
Oh, I think his only draw supporter in hand is N. It's not pretty, you know, N, draw 4 cards, hoping for an energy. If he whiffs that and whiffs Quaking Punch, then Enrique can go wild, drop some of his items, max potions.
Yeah, he can go wild, heal his Pokemon.
Go wild. Go mild, whatever. He can use a lot more options.
Oh, man, and Jason, he's kind of going for it here. He looks like he's filling his bench up. That's targets for Lysander, but he's going to use Shaman EX's setup.
Shaman gives him an option. He does at least find a basic energy, so he can continue Quaking Punch, but he has done it at the expense of creating all of these new Lysander targets for Enrique.
Right, probably not what he wanted to do there, but you know, you just kind of have to. Waylord forces you, it kind of nudges you and says, hey, you got to knock me out. Otherwise, you're going to run out of cards. And, I mean, that forces you to play more cards, which then decks you out anyway.
Right.
So we do see an Ultra Ball. Looks like Jason probably going for Garbodor here. This can end up being risky eventually, but for the time being, this will allow him to attack for damage against Suicune, take 1 more prize, and, well, he'll be halfway there.
Right. It at least gives him a little something. It is sort of strange math if Enrique decides to go double whales for the rest of the game, but Jason has to do something. He has to keep pushing forward somehow. This is one way to do it.
Right, so we do see Garbotoxin coming into effect. There's the Quaking Punch. 1 more prize card taken for Jason, and out comes Waylord.
We're halfway there.
Now, unfortunately, Jason did have a bench all those Pokemon, so we see a Lysander bringing out Seismitoad EX. I wouldn't be surprised if this finally breaks that Quaking Punch lock.
Yeah, Jason's going to have to find a double colorless energy. He's got a water. That's not exactly it. He's going to have to N, and now it's less because he just took a prize. N for 3.
Right, and he's running low on energy already. A couple double colorless energy already gone. His AZ is gone. He might want to try to find a float stone. That might be his best bet here. But yeah, he'll have to play an N to go for it.
Yeah, he's given up on the double colorless. Just N, float stone, please allow me to move this Toad. And then the thing is, after he moves that Toad, Enrique can just Lysander the other one that he was forced to play down.
Yeah, this is not looking pretty. But you know, with this N, we've heard Jason talk about this before. If you play an N, Enrique has not really played any item cards. I think he played like one hard charm at the beginning, and that's it. So any item card he might draw here will end up being unplayable if Quaking Punch can continue.
Ooh, I don't think Jason found himself a float stone. He's sitting there. He does have a hypnotoxic laser. I guess his last one. Ooh.
Right, and
you can see the look of disgust on his face.
If he can't use Quaking Punch this turn, that's horrible news. That means Enrique can play these item cards. The biggest one probably Versus Seeker to get back those supporters. Think about what happens if he gets access to another AZ or another Cassius or even another Zero Sicker, Team Flare, Grunt. Access to any one of those supporters will be bad news for Jason.
I don't know if I've seen a deck run more supporters than this one before. It's just a giant wave. I think there are actually more supporters than item cards overall. It's certainly close. And on top of that, speaking of items, he could even hit enhanced hammers.
Right, and all right, Jason has to pass the turn, unable to find that float stone, and there is Versus
Speak
Seeker.
of the devil.
Lysander is the choice for Enrique. That's pretty smart since there are so many targets for Jason on that bench, right? He has the Seismitoad EX, the Trubbish, the Shaman, all of those have retreat costs.
And we do see a replacement stadium. Rough Seas now, Jason can really just draw and pass. With Rough Seas, Enrique can heal, and Jason is not dealing nearly enough poison damage as he was with Hypnotoxic Laser if he decides to play through it.
It's funny seeing Jason's hand and seeing all these normally powerful cards that any other deck would be so afraid to see, right? A Crushing Hammer, a Lysander, and all of those are useless against Enrique's deck. You actually like, oh man, a Lysander, really?
Oh, here's a fun card. The one Trick Shovel he runs discards a card straight off the top of his deck. It's actually Verming City. Wow, the crowd knows how important that is. That's an opportunity for Jason to replace Rough Seas, and it's gone. I've seen Enrique pull some incredible MLG Trick Shovels, just discarding some of the most important cards. It's just one. I've heard the group decided, it's a fun gimmick. It's not necessary to run like 4 copies, but hey, just that 1 mil can push you 1 turn faster to decking your opponent out.
How ridiculous is that?
And just real quick, for those of you guys who are watching, maybe haven't watched much of the Pokemon trading card game, you actually lose if you go to draw a card and your deck is empty. So you might be wondering, how is this deck going to win by not taking prizes? If Jason Klaczynski's deck is eventually empty, he just loses.
Right, I mean, there are 3 win conditions in the Pokemon TCG. Knock out all of your opponent's Pokemon, take all 6 of your prized cards, and your opponent can't draw a card at the beginning of their turn. And it's been a while since we've seen a deck try to win by decking out the opponent, but this has been definitely the most successful one we've ever seen at this high level of a tournament.
And all we can see on Jason's side is reluctant passes. It looks like he's drawn an N card. I've seen some players, you can delay what might seem like the inevitable. Oh, I don't even know if it was an N. It might have just been the Sycamore. If you N, you can shuffle your hand into your deck, draw less cards than were currently in your hand, make your deck a little bit bigger, extend the game out. But Enrique also runs some tricks to prevent that in long term as well. I've seen Hugh discard large hand sizes before.
Yeah, if anything, the novelty of this deck is amazing. We see all sorts of cards that you would normally never see in competitive decks. Trick Shovel, a good example. Hugh, probably the biggest example. I don't know if I've ever seen a Hugh in a competitive deck in the 4 years or 3 years that it's been legal.
Yeah, no, Hugh, it was kind of the butt of many jokes. You look at it and you're like, oh, hey, Hugh, worst rival trading card ever. Who was going to play this? Well, all these years later, we found a way. We've cracked the code.
Yeah, we can see Jason only has about 4 cards left in his deck.
Yeah.
He is pretty much run out of options at this point. He does have a Seismitoad on the bench with 3 energy ready
Pass.
to Grenade Hammer if
Pass.
he really can get there, but I mean,
Oh.
at this point, he's just got too many targets for Lysander.
He did find that float stone finally. It's been 3,000 years, as AZ might say, but hey, we're starting something.
Right, and here is, I think it's the last Hypnotoxic Laser Jason has. Float Stone, so he can retreat and attack this turn. We'll see if he also puts out, Burbank City Gym to try to accelerate the process. Does he have an end to go with this?
He definitely does. I saw at least one of the basic art, and there we go. Shuffling in. One hilarious thing about the Wailord deck, actually, is that it doesn't have the restriction of drawing less cards at the end of a game by N. You still get to draw 6 every single time because you're never taking prizes.
Yeah, and this is a thing. I think the last mill deck we've had in the Pokemon TCG was that Durant deck, and this is kind of the same concept.
Ironically, a deck heavily piloted by Jason back in the day.
Yeah, go figure. But yeah, you don't actually take prize cards, so things that would punish you like N for winning in a way really don't punish you when you're trying to win the other way, and that's running your opponent out of cards.
That said, Enrique did have a hand size of something brutal like, 15, 20 cards. I don't even know. So maybe he's lost a few options.
Wailord wakes up again.
We see
there's
Team
a
Flare
Team Flare Grunt. Oh.
Energy off Jason. Is he out? Can he not power it up for another Grenade Hammer if he wants to?
Yeah, that might be the case, but I think Grenade Hammer is an attack reserved for the final attack of the game if he can get there. Right, you want a
Last-ditch
Quaking
effort.
Punch. Yeah, you want a Quaking Punch over and over and over so you can shut off Max Potion and Versus Seeker. And then if you can get Grenade Hammer to get that one big attack for the win, that's what it's for. But
Oh boy, look at all them dice. 120, 140. Was that 190 damage right
and
now?
another Team Flare Grunt. Another
Oh.
energy gets discarded.
Jason might not even be able to do a Quaking Punch again now. Has
Yeah.
he lost it all?
It might be, he might be out of energy. I'm not sure how many double colors he went through early on, but that could be it.
See a bit of grimace on his end. Look at all that damage on Wailord.
That's 220 damage.
It actually will fall to poison as Jason passes, but something tells me he won't be seeing that last prize card.
Yeah, I mean, if Enrique can play a Versus Seeker and Team Flare Grunt again, discard the last energy off that Seismitoad EX, I'm not really sure what Jason can do to win this game. He's running out of Hypnotoxic Lasers, running out of energy, and he takes his 2 prize cards here. He does manage to get down to 1 prize card, but can he manage to somehow take out this last Wailord?
We see a Skyla here, actually. Curious what Enrique's going to pull out of this. Replace that stadium, perhaps?
It's about to get a little rough.
Oh, man, it's going to get so rough. I think that's Jason's last Burbank as well. Actually opting for the Dowsing Machine.
Yeah, now this is a card that kind of fell out of favor when Lysander's trump card was around because why do you need to recover an item card when you can recover every card in your whole deck? But now Dowsing Machine becoming a viable option with resources being so important again. Lets you reuse one of your trainer cards from the discard pile in a deck that's going to take forever like this one. That's an obvious choice.
And Enrique just opted to pass, saying, hey, I've got this Dowsing Machine if I absolutely need it. I don't even think I'm going to be hit by a Quaking Punch again for the rest of the game.
Yeah, and Jason's just going to pass the turn. There we see the Dowsing Machine.
Oh, boy. I would not be surprised to see Grunt number 3.
Yeah, let's see what he decides to go for there. Looks
Oh,
like
Lysander
Lysander
instead. Why not? Hey, now you need to do 2 things. Now you need an energy and a way to retreat this Toad.
Yeah, so Enrique playing this deck beautifully. I mean, he doesn't attack at all, but the decisions you make are still pretty important. And he's played this beautifully all weekend. He's just kind of manipulated his opponent's board, and then eventually it gets to a situation where they just can't attack anymore. And it's brutal to see, but it's kind of beautiful in a way as well.
Yeah, there's a little bit of poetry to it, Never seen a Pokemon deck be so passive, yet win so many games.
Right, and Enrique's going to take a look through Jason's discard pile at this point, try to see, okay, how many Ns have you used? How many Hypnotoxic Laser? How many energy have you gone through? I see him doing this a lot over the course of this weekend, just mainly trying to count how many N, how many Chorus have you used? how long is it going to be until I can deck you out?
Oh boy, we see the fan club. Perhaps, is there a whale? One, I guess, slight weakness in Enrique's deck is because he doesn't take prize cards. If he has poor prizes, he can't ever retrieve them. If he prizes all 4 Whale Lord in some kind of disaster, he's not getting them back.
Right. Well, he does play Sacred Ash, I suppose, so things that get knocked out can shuffle those Pokemon back in. Just another way to prevent himself from decking out. And we just see another pass from Jason. Enrique playing Hue.
Oh, there's the Hue.
That is
Humongous discards out of Jason Klaczynski's hand. This card is helps you and can hurt your opponent. You can limit either player's hand size to 5. So that means either drawing up or discarding down. In Jason's case, that's discarding down. And that sort of helps you buy time to make a much quicker deck out. If Jason wants to end now, he has less cards that he can shuffle back.
And Jason concedes. The last prize was his last energy in the whole deck. Wow. Managed just to get down to 1 prize card. That's pretty impressive, actually. But Enrique takes game number 1. He's 1 game away from shocking the world and winning the U.S. National Championships with Wailord EX.
That was quite a bit more fight than I was expecting out of this deck. More than I've seen before against this Wailord deck. But you know what? If anybody's going to do it, it's Jason.
Yeah, so, going into this, I know, Josh, you didn't expect much to happen on Jason's side.
No, he's already accomplished more than I set out for him.
Right.
Despite knowing how great of a player Jason is, I think some matchups are just too hard to come back from.
Yeah, but I think that game took a pretty significant amount of time, and let's keep in mind the rules here. In game number 2, if time gets called and a player has taken at least 4 prize cards, the game does count. So if this game goes to the time limit and Jason can do the same thing he did there, take at least 4 prize cards, he'll actually win a game and then force a game 3 sudden death. So that has to be his strategy at this point. Even if he can't win a full game, just try to take 4 prizes and try to get time to run out, and then you have a pretty good shot in a sudden death game to win the national championships.
Yeah, it's not a bad strategy at all. And actually, one of the main critiques of this Wailord deck had a lot of players saying, they're like, how is this thing going to survive in top cut? In regular Swiss rounds, you have to complete a full game for it to count. And as you saw, this thing doesn't often allow a full game. But now it's like you said, if Jason Klaczynski can take at least 4 prize cards, which he did in the last game, but also bring it to time before decking out, we go to game 3, sudden death, and then Wailord is left with an even bigger restriction. Instead of trying to prevent your opponent from taking 4 prizes, then they just need to be in the lead on prizes. It's just 1 knockout and you're done.
Right. As unfortunate as it is, there are time limits in tournaments. Otherwise, imagine this matchup if there were no time limit. How long would we be here? So there are time limits, and the player who takes advantage of this situation the most is Jason Klaczynski. He knows how to work around the clock. Well, we saw it in the top 4 match. He knew he was going to lose that game number 2, but he played it as long as possible so that game number 3 could happen, and he knew his deck was faster than Ben's, so he'd be able to take the first knockout. We see him using the strategy a lot because Seismitoad EX is definitely the best deck in sudden death, able to take the first prize more often than not. So I know that's got to be Jason's strategy here. I don't think he expects to win a full game. We'll see if he can pull it off.
Yeah, the last time I talked to Jason, he said one of his favorite things is, hey, I finally have a deck that's good in sudden death. Isn't that new?
Yeah.
Often known for playing a lot of decks that can sometimes struggle if you end up getting to the very end of the clock. But here, he can definitely pull through. He needs to win this game. In a strange way, if Jason wins game 2, you can almost count it as him winning game 3 as well.
Yeah, so it looks like Jason actually had no basic Pokemon in his hand, and you see 37 minutes on that clock. We started with 75 minutes, so if it takes the same amount of time, we actually would run out of time. It's definitely a possibility. I didn't think Jason's deck was capable of taking 4 prize cards, but, he showed he can in the first one. If we see a repeat, could see something crazy happen.
Yeah, and it's like you're saying, all Enrique needs is 1 bad hand, and he's done. He's using a considerable amount of risk. What if he starts just like Lone Suicune and a bunch of, not so helpful trainers? Things like Hughes maybe not helping you that quickly. Hard Charm can only do so much. He could potentially get a bad hand here, but he has started double whales, which is Pretty good.
Yeah, I would say this game's going to go on for a while.
All right. See you guys at the end of time.
All right, so game number 2 here at the finals of the 2015 U.S. National Championships in the Masters Division. Jason Kozinski trying to battle back, down one game, trying to earn his first national championship. And, of course, Enrique trying to get his first big tournament win, be crowned national champion. A lot on the line here. Jason just starting off the game with an energy and a pass, and Enrique immediately with that Team Flare grunt.
And I believe Enrique, he learned a lot in that last game. Jason went through just about all of his deck. I'm pretty sure Enrique knows how many energy Jason runs total. So I think he's going to be a little bit more aggressive on these discards, just trying to keep Jason out of all of his opportunities to attack.
Yeah, and all the deck lists for the top 8 players are actually posted on Pokemon.com. You can actually go check those out if you want. Go to Pokemon.com/nationals. You'll see all these deck lists, including this Wailord deck if you want to check it out. So both of these players actually had an opportunity to study their opponent's list and know exact counts. And so I think Enrique probably looked at how many energy cards does my opponent play, and when he looks through that discard pile, he can know, okay, I know you only have 7 to work with. That's all I have to get through.
And I know Enrique, without a doubt, did use that information. He was pretty open, like, hey, here's the Wailord deck. You guys can check it out if you want to see what's going on. So many players wondering how it ticks. But now you guys finally get to see it in action. It's a little different.
So Jason passes the turn. I think he had maybe a Professor Sycamore or something like that to discard his hand and draw 7. But, you're really not in any hurry to do anything here. You can just kind of sit back and wait because you're not under any pressure to be knocked out or anything. So maybe Jason's just going to keep drawing and drawing and drawing and then hope for one turn where he can play down like Muscle Band, Double Colorless Energy, Furbank, Laser, and then Enrique put him down to a lower hand size.
Yeah, he can definitely afford to wait for now. If that timer starts getting closer to the end and we're seeing +3 and he hasn't taken 4 prize cards left, he's definitely going to have to go turbo. But for now, we're seeing a game of draw and pass.
Right, both players doing the exact same thing. Draw and I'll pass, and draw and I'll pass, and just going back and forth until Jason finally decides to make a move.
Jason's hand actually looking kind of gross. He's got a lot of hammers that he can't use, a lot of tools he doesn't want to use yet. And then Enrique gets in this weird situation. I've seen this. You see a lot of draw passes, and then players start thinking, okay, do I hue now? Do I hue now? When's my opponent going to have to end? He has the end here. He can shuffle in and draw 6 if he feels desperate for the energy. But Jason knows he can afford to buy some time.
Yeah, time, as strange it is on Jason's side. Normally, the player who loses game 1 is fighting against the clock, but Jason's actually probably happy that the clock is starting to run out. But Enrique with a big card actually gets the hard charm down. That is a really big deal.
Yeah, we did see it eventually discarded by Xerasic from Jason, and then Enrique can't really get another hard charm back down once the item lock has begun. But Jason, with this much slower start, I would not be surprised if, even if he does Xerasic, if he can't follow it up, Enrique can just drop another hard charm down.
Right, and the only downside of Jason not using Quaking Punch at this point is that Enrique has an opportunity to put more hard charm onto the field. He does play a full 4 of those in his deck just to take less damage from attacks. 250 HP and you're taking 20 less from a Quaking Punch. That's a good equation if you're Enrique.
Yeah, so it's significant.
Yeah.
Enough so where Jason might eventually have to waste his Versus Seekers picking up Xerasic instead of other things like the ability to bring back Hypnotoxic Laser with his Shadow Triad.
Right, so in the meantime, I think Jason's just kind of sitting back. I think he's kind of committed to the strategy at this point. Just wait until you draw energy and then enough cards to do a meaningful turn, and then on that same turn you play an N and try to disrupt Enrique's hand so he's not full of those cards like Team Flare Grunt and other disruption cards.
So it's just, draw, pass, draw, pass, draw, pass. My question is, I haven't played enough Wailord to know, when is the ideal time to drop the hue on your opponent?
Yeah, it's actually interesting. Hue also forces you to drop down to 5, so you have to find this weird spot where your opponent's actually used resources, and you don't want to discard more cards than your opponent does because, they play Colress. I don't think that Enrique plays any Colress. Jason, on the other hand, I believe he plays 1 And Chorus can be a card that kind of swings the deck out game, right? If you're drawing 2 cards with a Chorus, that's a lot less than Enrique's anti-deck out, which is Shauna or N.
This has to be a stream record. Most consecutive draw passes. Oh, and there's another hard charm as we were speaking. While he has the opportunity, of course he's going to drop that on Whale Lord.
Absolutely. So we see another pass, and Jason, I don't think he's drawn a non-trainer card.
It's rough. He certainly runs a lot of them, but he does run less than Enrique. You'd expect him to find something like Pokemon. Oh, a double colorless energy.
Okay, so he does have the double colorless energy. Does he have a hypnotoxic laser to go with his Verbank City Gym, or will he just play the N?
It looks like it's just the N.
Okay,
but there is some strategy here. He's shuffling that enormous hand back into his deck and only drawing 6 cards.
Right, and he'll be able to start using Quaking Punch. Enrique, over that course of time, really didn't get to play many of his item cards. Got to play the 2 Hard Charm, got to play a Versus Seeker, so removing 3 item cards from his deck, but still a sizable amount that he could draw into here.
Oh yeah, I see it. Versus Seeker, Enhanced Hammer, Max Potions. All those are cards that could potentially clog Enrique's hand. He is getting 6 cards, but they could be 6 items.
Yeah, and of course, Jason also gets a new hand, not one with 10 trainer cards.
So here we go. Will Jason get his replacement energy and Pokemon if he so needs them? And will Enrique find some of that support from supporters that he needs?
Yeah, let's see. Jason draws his 6 cards here. Looks like he finally finds some Pokemon and some more energy. That's not a great hand, though. He has 2 double colorless energy. That's great to be able to use Quaking Punch in consecutive turns. But at the same time, he has Professor Sycamore and no laser or Verbank in sight. So, I mean, this 30 damage Quaking Punch.
And that's after a muscle band.
And there's the Team Flare Grunt discarding the double colorless energy. There's one more energy down for Jason.
Enrique got some items. I think he drew like 2 Max Potion, which he can't use, but he did get a lot of supporters.
Right, so we see the second double colorless energy going on Jason. Seismitoad EX can go for another Quaking Punch here, but just 30 damage. Oof. Thanks to that Hard Charm.
And every time one of these double colorless hits the discard pile,
guess what Enrique just drew?
Top deck, Team Flare Grunt. Every time Jason loses a double, a Seismitoad weeps at home, and also he's not getting it back.
Yikes. 3 Team Flare Grunt seen already. That is crazy stuff. Of course, Enrique does play 4 Team Flare Grunt in his deck. Normally a card that you play maybe 1 of because, well, you can't afford to use it as your supporter, but in this deck, when you're not actually doing anything else, it becomes a really strong card.
We see Jason sort of reluctantly has to play the Sycamore. He has to start getting some work going. I think he has like a Hypnotoxic Laser, Verbank City, which is a pretty good combo. But you can really see that Hard Charm putting in the work. Being able to absorb 20 damage and nullify it with each and every attack is huge when Jason already has such a weak attack to begin with.
Yeah, I'm trying to do the math here. I wonder what Jason's strategy is because he could potentially try to run Enrique out of Team Flare Grunt. There's 4 in the deck. He can't play Versus Seeker, and then there's 1 0/6. So he has 3 potential discard effects to get through at this point. He has 2 double colorless left, 1 on his active, 1 on his deck, and then 3 water energy. So if he can continue to use Quaking Punch, run Enrique out of his energy removal cards, he could end up managing to take 4 prize cards at some point just because he'll be able to attack every turn.
Yeah, and that seems to be the way he's going. Obviously, it can be a slow road if Enrique can encounter some of his cards, such as the AZ and the Cassius. But for now, Jason is making, I believe, the right play, at least to give himself a chance of survival.
Yeah, and he's drawing into all of his energy cards, which is really important. Again, he only plays 7 of them in his deck, so he's managed to draw into pretty much all of them at this point. And, if he gets enough water energy, I wonder at some point if we see him just kind of reach for that grenade hammer, if he can get the 4th prize with it, and then just try to stall the game out.
Well, here we see supporter heal number 1. His name is AZ, and actually Suicune going active.
That's right. So do you see that Safeguard Pokemon coming into the active position? Now Jason will have to make a decision. Does he want to use a Hypnotoxic Laser on this Suicune? Can he find Garbodor to shut off that Safeguard ability? We'll have to see.
And the Suicune really does help it is a very specific number. At the end of time in Game 2, you need to have taken 4 prize cards for it to count. But Suicune can sort of skew the game into Jason only getting 3, for example, if he knocks out 1 Suicune and 1 Wailord.
Yeah, now something I just thought of. If Jason does manage to take 4 prize cards, force the Game 3 sudden death, we might have the longest sudden death game in the history of the Pokemon TCG. We could definitely see a 20-minute sudden death game where Jason is unable to take a prize. So we have a lot of Pokemon action left for you still.
Yeah, action is one way to describe it.
Yeah, looks like Jason making some more decisions. Those hypnotoxic lasers are, of course, valuable resources. He needs to continue to use Quaking Punch, but it's doing no damage. If he wants to put any sort of pressure, he'll probably have to do something at some point, but for the time being, just using Quaking Punch for no damage.
Yeah, works for him. And he does actually have that Grenade Hammer option if he ever truly needs it. He has stockpiled enough energy. I think Jason's learned, if I can get by using just this one Seismitoad, not having to bench another one in desperation, I think that's pretty good.
Yeah, and we do see the Pokemon fan club from Enrique grabbing another Wailord EX and another Suicune. Just thinning out his deck a little bit, so maybe he can draw into those Team Flare Grunt or Zero Sick, 2 cards that would help him out quite a bit. So yeah, just grabs 2 more Pokemon, doesn't bother putting them on the bench, and we see another Quaking Punch.
All right, and we're back to Pass Wars. This time, actually, Jason doing Quaking Punch between each turn. It's just doing 0 damage because of Suicune's Safeguard ability.
Right, and Jason draws that Garbodor. That's a big top deck. Didn't have to use a supporter to try to dig for it. So now he can Quaking Punch, 50 damage. All right, we're putting on a little bit of pressure.
All right, yeah, Jason's looking and says, hey, we're halfway there. All I need is another Quaking Punch and the Suicune will fall. And I think Enrique is not going to waste his heal cards on the Suicune. He might, but I think he might just concede the Suicune. Nope. Popping it up.
Why not? He can promote the 250 HP Pokemon that has a Hard Charm on it. That's probably going to take a few hits.
Yeah, just a couple.
All right, so now it's back to Jason's turn. He's probably excited at the prospect of finally collecting a prize card, but nope, Enrique denies him once again. And another Quaking Punch for 30 damage.
Yeah, it's going to be really, really slow. Yes, he could do a couple of Grenade Hammers, pile up damage that way. But the second he does, he's also giving Enrique all of his item-based healing as well.
I see a lot of cards stockpiling in Enrique's hand, and a lot of them are not ones he wants to see. I wonder, as Enrique's hand grows, will Jason play an end just to try to reset him at 6 cards and maybe mess with it a little bit? With each passing turn, it's probably more likely that Enrique finds a Team Flare Grunt or a 0-6. So a thought might cross his mind, maybe I can put him back down to 6 cards and, shuffle a bunch of those dead cards back in, and maybe he'll redraw those and just have a deck full of bad cards.
Yeah, even though Jason has actually taken prize cards, he's taken none, but even though he's been playing sort of at a slower pace than we've seen in that first game, you can't really count him out yet. I feel like he's really optimized his strategy against this Wailord deck in game 2.
Yeah, another card we haven't really seen yet on Enrique's side is Rough Seas. That's another card that could really throw a wrench in this strategy. If there is a Rough Seas out, that Quaking Punch will effectively do 0 damage every turn.
Yeah, Enrique is definitely waiting either for Rough Seas or a Skyla. Haven't seen either of them yet.
Instead, he draws up Versus Seeker, another card he can't play, so Enrique's hand just filling up with more and more and more cards he is unable to play.
And despite having such a large hand, if you can't play any of your options, if you've run out of heals, it can get pretty bad. Now Jason may be briefly thinking, oh, hey, Grenade Hammer's looking kind of tasty soon. The problem is I don't know if... I just know he doesn't want to give him that turn of trainers. That gives him VS Seekers, which just gives him way too many abilities to discard his energy again. Disrupt his field.
Right. Grenade Hammer would be a last attack. And in this situation, if there's any point where he can dig for his last 2 prizes using Grenade Hammer, I think he'll do it. Just being able to get those 4 prize cards, that's all you need to win, since Enrique won't be taking any prize cards anytime soon. And you would assume the timer would run out before Jason runs out of cards.
So we are sort of at this same slow boil, just 3 damage counters at a time. Jason waiting, I guess, smart the way he's using the Hypnotoxic Laser. He doesn't want to drop it yet. I think he only wants to use it sort of as like a surprise knockout turn.
Right, so we'll
And
probably...
also, yeah, if he plays his stadium first, he's going to get the first swap out as well.
Right, so we'll probably just see another Quaking Punch at this point.
Hey,
Is,
nothing new there. We've heard of that in the metagame before.
That is 6 Quaking Punches in a row to deal 180 damage.
180 on the 250 HP Wailord.
Right, and that means they'll actually need 3 more to get a knockout. Or 2 more and a Hypnotoxic Laser.
All right. Let's see what Jason's going to do here.
Yeah, I think he's trying to decide what's the best time to start playing some extra cards. When do I play Hypnotoxic Laser? When do I play an N and try to reset Enrique's hand a little bit? What is the best timing for this sequence, right? Because that's really what it's going to come down to, the order of what cards get played. And, I mean, if you play one card out of order against a deck like Wailord that can really punish you for it, it could just cost you the game. And, I mean, pretty high pressure stakes here. Could cost you the national championship.
Yeah, he's playing on very thin ice right now. If he mismanages resources just one time, all of a sudden that puts Enrique in a situation where he might bide multiple turns from Jason. Jason opting to Versus Seeker for the end this time.
And he might have decided this is the point of attack he needs. Plays that Hypnotoxic Laser. And with both players at extremely large hand sizes, I think he'll play this N. Try to stick this Wailord here with no AZ and no Cassius and try to get a knockout and collect his first 2 prizes.
Enrique has run through a couple of these supporter resets. He's only getting 6 cards. I know only sounds a little strange, but when you've been holding a hand of like 15, it's not quite as good. Enrique has a lot of items in there he could draw. It's a situation similar to last game. Let's see, can he get his supporters, or will he be locked when he finds his handful of items?
I think this is pretty brilliantly played by Jason, giving himself the best odds of avoiding those cards that are going to cause problems like AZ and Cassius. But oh boy, it looks like Enrique may have drawn into one of those cards that can help him out. We'll see, though, another Quaking Punch on the way and the poison damage.
Yeah, I think he found the one Cassius. He also did find one Rough Seas, but the rest seemed like not so great cards. You know, it was items, which he'll not be able to use, and a fan card.
Oh, there's Cassius. In goes the Wailord. That's like 7 turns of Quaking Punch just undone with 1 supporter card.
Oh, man. Yep, right back into Cassius's PC network. Just got downloaded, or uploaded, I suppose.
Yeah, and the Hard Charm goes with it. Well, that's kind of a double-edged sword. Sure, you have another Hard Charm to work with, but that's another item card you can draw into that you don't really want to draw against Quaking Punch.
Right. Jason actually looks like he set himself in a situation this game where he's going to be able to do Quaking Punch probably every turn for the rest of the game. So those Hard Charms might not come back down. Jason being able to deal an extra 20 damage per turn is big, but we do see the Rough Seas slowing it down just a little bit.
All right, and then we see a Pokemon Fan Club. Again, Enrique playing 4 copies of that card. Another not too commonly played supporter card. Again, seen as it's too slow to use 4 Pokemon Fan Club in a deck. But again, these supporter cards that have been often overlooked are shining in this stall deck.
And so, the more support I see in this tweet, the more supporters Enrique uses, the more items he'll eventually draw off of N. Jason actually doing what he can to burn Enrique of his resources.
Yeah, funny how that works sometimes.
Well, you know, Seismitoad isn't all that fast of a deck to begin with.
Right. So you have Rough Seas in play. I know Jason does have Burbank City Gym in his hand. Again, this will come down to timing. Does he feel like it's appropriate to get rid of that Rough Seas right now, or does he want to wait for a turn where he plays the Burbank to counter Rough Seas and then plays an N?
Yeah, that would probably be a pretty strong play. But he decides, you know, I've still got time to burn. I can just Quaking Punch and wait.
Right, so there we see another Quaking Punch. Going to put that Wailord EX up to 70 damage, but, looks like Enrique forgot to use the Rough Seas that turn.
Oh, he did. I saw him do this maybe one other time, but he was just at the end of a very slow boil, you know. Okay, draw, pass, draw, pass.
And I just saw Enrique realized exactly what he did wrong. Forgot to use Rough Seas. Fortunately, Wailord EX will take about 4 more Quaking Punches before it gets knocked out.
Yeah, he will. The Seas did stick, so he will be able to heal again. Just one slight mishap, but I think Enrique is not going to make that same mistake a second time.
Yeah, I mean, with every turn ending with a pass, I mean, at some point, the games go on so long, it's very easy to forget to do something like Rough Seas. So can't blame someone for missing that when, I mean, these turns are so repetitive, but that could end up being a big deal.
And one thing I can see spinning through the wheels in Enrique's head is he has the Hue now. And like you said, both players have to limit their hand size down to 5. If he plays Hue, he can just discard all of those useless items that he'll never use again. But he might be limiting Jason quite a bit more by playing it.
And we see yet another Quaking Punch, putting 50 more damage on that Wailord EX. Another item card drawn by Enrique. His hand full of those cards he can play. He hasn't seen a Team Flare Grunt or a Zero Sick in quite some time. I have to start to wonder, are they in his prize cards? That's a unique dynamic of this Wailord deck. Most decks, once they start taking prize cards, they can access those cards that are there. But with Wailord, if those cards are in your prizes, you will never see them.
All right, so Quaking Punch, once again, we've heard this tale before.
Uh-oh, but there we go. Team Flare Grunt discarding that water energy. I think that's a pretty smart move. That's both water energy gone. That takes, or 2 of the 3 water energy gone on Jason's side. That takes away that grenade hammer option. Also,
if he finds the Zero Sick, he'll just use that on the double instead.
So smart play from Enrique, definitely understanding the situation. Both players playing incredibly well.
Right, Quaking Punch.
It's another one. Looks like 180 damage on there right now. So still a couple more Quaking Punch attacks before we finally can see this Wailord go down.
All right, so Enrique draws. Looks like another Pokemon fan club. Maybe can use this to draw. Using another Rough Seas. Maybe eyeing that Hue.
Yeah, and it is a little interesting. Enrique, he may have been playing more cards than Jason this game. I wonder if a situation could come up where Jason actually ends up decking Enrique out.
Oh my goodness, yeah, he's been playing ultra conservatively. I wonder if that could be the case. Yes, Enrique can Cassius and shuffle a few more cards back into his hand from time to time, but as Jason takes prize cards, these ends will even aid Jason more, because he'll be drawing less out of his deck, forcing Enrique to draw the full 6.
Yeah, now something we have to keep an eye on. Look at that clock down there. We are under 20 minutes. We said, okay, if Jason takes 4 prizes, yeah, he'll win the game on time. But he does have to take the 4 prizes before time is up. We could see him lose if he doesn't actually take any prize cards in that time.
He's getting close. This one whale is getting there. Enrique needs to find a heal supporter off of these cards.
Yeah, he draws 6 off of that N, and that is horrible. That's a lot of item cards.
It's as you're mentioning, the more supporters he plays, the worse his potential hand can get.
Yeah, and at this point, Jason puts down, I think that's his last energy card in his whole deck, but he wants to make sure he can use Quaking Punch every single turn. One Seismitoad EX has to go the distance.
All right, so we see yet another N from Enrique. He's going to heal, and he says, you know what? This hand is pretty bad. Let's go back in here.
Wow, and yeah, he has to burn another N, drawing more cards. At the time being, it looks like Enrique definitely has more cards in his deck than Jason does. I mean, when you're not playing energy and things like that, playing 1 card a turn isn't really a big deal. You can see Jason's discard pile has plenty of cards too, so I don't know if Jason will be able to deck Enrique out, but man, this is getting a little weird.
So Jason gets a new hand. I don't think I see any kind of like hypnotoxic option if he does end up using that later. The longer time takes, the more Enrique can buffer this with his Rough Seas.
And you actually see Enrique counting everything on the field. He's taking a look. He counted how many cards were in Jason's discard pile, how many were on the field. He's trying to see how many total cards are out of play. That way he can do some math and see who runs out of cards first.
I've seen him do this many times. Oftentimes, you don't see players actually like count the field. Like, how many Pokemon are there? Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. But Enrique does it often just because he really wants to calculate exactly how many cards are left. You know, what if Jason plays an AZ? Oh, boy.
He's going for the Professor Sycamore here.
It's going in.
Wow, I wonder what he's digging for. Maybe he's trying to find...
Whatever he was trying to find, he didn't find it.
Yeah, that doesn't look very good.
I think maybe he was hoping to find, replacement stadium, hypnotoxic laser, finally apply some of that pressure.
Yeah, at this point, he's probably thinking, all right, I do have to dig a little bit. We need to try to put some pressure on. The timer is running out somewhat, so I do need to try to find hypnotoxic laser in Burbank City Gym. Make it at least plausible to take a prize sometime soon.
And Enrique, he does have Skyla, which is a card he very much enjoys. Maybe thinking, okay, well, Skyla can either get me another one of these supporters and I can use it next turn, or I can hold it in hand and use it to get an immediate rough seas if I need to replace that again.
Yeah, now we're actually at the point where I think Jason has kind of outlasted all those energy removal cards. There are 4 Team Flare Grunt and 1 Zero Sick in Enrique's deck. He's used 3 of those Team Flare Grunts. That means at most he can discard 2 more energy from Jason's Seismitoad. And even if he does that, there'll still be a double colorless left, enough for him to use Quaking Punch. So we should see Jason attack every single turn unless we see like a 0/6 discard the Float Stone off Garbodor. But
that's the only option I think I can see where that would break things up.
Yeah, so Jason's played this very well to have the best opportunity to actually win this game.
And Enrique, he just fished out that AZ. He wanted to make sure he had a heal supporter for the next turn. Jason noting this as an opportunity, hey, I can play N, maybe I can shuffle that back into his deck, and he doesn't get it again on the next draw.
Right, so this is going to be a big hand for Enrique, and also for Jason if he can get rid of that Rough Seas and maybe get a Hypnotoxic Laser along with the Burbank City Gym.
Item, Suicune. Oh, is that a Cassius at the very end of all that?
Yeah,
wow.
There we see Hypnotoxic Laser putting that Wailord to sleep and poisoning it. Rough Seas still remains out there, though. So, oh man, if Enrique does have Cassius, he can reset this in again.
Boop.
240 damage. Shuffled into the deck.
There he goes. Moby Dick gets away once again.
Wow, this is just crazy to watch. I never would have expected to see this in the finals of U.S. Nationals. I mean, when we were coming into this tournament, you're like, oh, yeah, there's Night March decks, there's Metal decks, there's Seismitoad decks, and Wailord decks.
I ran into one of these on Pokemon Trading Card Game Online, and I was playing Virizion Genesect, so it went fairly well for me, and I didn't think twice about the deck again. But it looks like something more sinister was brewing there.
Right. Jason, he's being pretty aggressive now. I think he understands there's under 15 minutes. He needs to start taking prizes. Getting a little risky because he's digging through his deck quite a bit. But at this point, he's trying...
Sycamore too, yeah.
Yeah,
really.
He's just digging for more lasers and trying to find that Burbank City Gym.
Oh, I didn't see it. I don't know. Was there a computer search in there? I see the Burbank. I don't see a laser.
Right, but at least it prevents that Rough Seas from healing any damage anytime soon. But, Enrique draws another AZ. Can Jason beat the clock at this point?
All right, so Jason with the Versus Seeker. What do you think he's going to play? Shadow Triad for another Hypnotoxic Laser.
Right, but we know that Enrique has another AZ, so in a couple turns when that Wailord's close to being knocked out, it'll get scooped right back up.
Heads on the sleep flip, that never matters.
And there we do see another Quaking Punch, and it looks like Wailord does wake up. Going to take the additional damage from Burbank City Gym. And let's see, will Enrique play the AZ this turn, or can he afford to wait one more turn?
Well, let's see. He's at 130 right now. He's poisoned, so you take an additional 30, go to 160.
I think he can survive one more Quaking Punch.
Yeah, after 160, Seismitoad can hit it for 50.
Yep, and Enrique does the math, says, yep, I will survive, and I pass.
And I believe Enrique does know, I guess, yeah, there's just no way. Jason's saying, hey, take this.
Oh, now it takes 6 energy to use High Breaching. Oh, man, I don't know if Enrique can pull off that attack now.
I don't even know if I would play that because it's one card you could be...
There's another AZ.
Boing. I feel like with that Head Ringer, that's one card you could have potentially shuffled back in with an N later in the game if you are trying to buy
I don't think Jason is worried about decking out at this point. He's worried about putting on pressure. He needs to play lasers every single turn if he can. So he's trying to actually get rid of cards at this point. Playing for that strategy, knows time is low. He needs to take knockouts now.
Well, yeah, he's going as quickly as he can. It's actually getting very close. Jason is perhaps approaching that point where he has run Enrique out of all of these reshuffling supporters. He might have a few, he might have some Rough Seas he could find, but for now, Jason is just head-hunting these whales.
Yeah, and there's a Quaking Punch doing even more damage to that Wailord EX, and I don't think we have a healing card for Enrique this turn.
There's no reset here. Is this Wailord going down?
I think it might. It's got 4 dice on it, so I'm going to assume that adds up.
It was a long wait, but Jason is finally in a situation where he can continue to apply the pressure, make sure that he can use Shadow Triad for another laser. He can laser up this next Pokemon that Enrique puts up. I think Enrique probably eyeing that Suicune. Just so
Probably,
you
yeah.
give Jason the 3-prize game, force him to use a laser there.
And there's the knockout. Waylord goes down. 2 prize cards taken. Can Jason beat the clock and take 2 more prize cards, or can Enrique find more and more cards to kind of delay the inevitable?
It only took us 20, 25 minutes, but prize cards have been taken in this game, and they are very crucial.
Right, and at this point, I think Jason's trying to figure out how many cards are in Enrique's hand. Does he want to play an N? Nope, just does Quaking Punch. With Garbodor out there, he can hit through that safeguard ability. Enrique passes the turn. Suicune will go down next turn, but still, Jason has to knock out one more Waylord to win this game.
Jason's running so low on resources, and I did see, I believe it was an AZ in Enrique's hands, so he's ready to heal on up. Oh, and a Xerosic as well. He can do some fun tricks.
Oh, I think at this point you use the Xerosic on the Float Stone, but...
Yeah, that's what I think I would do. Jason does have replacement Float Stones, but maybe it opens something up. Jason, I think, will have enough energy to run through the rest of this game.
Right, and something now that has to weigh on Jason's mind is that Hugh supporter card. We saw it in the first game, forces both players to discard down to 5 cards in their hand. At this point, if Enrique plays it, I don't know if there's any way Jason can avoid decking out, but he does have a Colress in his hand he could play.
Yeah, Colress, shuffle in, draw 2. Obviously playing the laser first. That might be his best move. I don't know if Enrique has the Hue in hand or not. I haven't seen it yet. But if he did, now it's probably optimal Hue in time.
Yeah, I think this has to be the turn Jason plays N. I think Enrique has too many cards, but no, he's just going to Quaking Punch. And there we go. There's another 80 damage going on Waylord EX. 10 minutes remain. Can Jason knock out one more Waylord EX?
All right, Hugh, where are you? Oh, I think he just pushed it up to the top of his hand.
All right, so we got
No, that's this weekend.
Yeah, what will Enrique do here? Just passes again. Oh, man. Can
does
Jason actually win the full game?
He's going as hard as he can.
Here's the
end. And Enrique had the AZ ready to go. Wow. He's got to shuffle and draw once again. And Jason has bought himself more time, really removing that deck out condition for a long while.
Right, so he'll shuffle in and draw just 3 cards. And the big thing here, will Enrique find an AZ or a Cassius? If he does, he'll be able to deny Jason that knockout, and I think Jason may have burned through all of his hypnotoxic lasers at this point.
6, I don't see it in his hand now. I see items and junk.
So here we go, Quaking Punch. Does Enrique top deck some way to heal this Waylord?
Could determine the entire series.
Oh man, this flip certainly won't.
No, just buying time for the inevitable. He top decks.
Hugh.
It's Hugh. Oh, that's not enough. He wishes he had that turn or 2 ago. Wow. This whale's going to fall. Now, all of a sudden, Enrique is going to be in desperation trying to deck Jason out. I think Jason can actually run this match over, and then we know what's going to happen if it goes down to overtime.
Can Jason actually overcome the odds again? Time and time again, it seems like his back's up against the wall. All he uses is Seismitoad EX, and somehow he finds ways to beat any kind of deck that's thrown at him. I've never seen anything like this.
I can't believe it. He played this game so smart. He reserved all of his resources. He started Toad so he didn't have to waste an energy attachment on something like the Trubbish. Loaded all of them up on a single Toad.
And
knowing all
there's
the resources,
the knockout.
Jason will now win on time if we reach it. And Enrique's going to play as fast as he can, hopefully trying to deck Jason out, but with the current resources that he has, I think Jason can actually take all the prizes.
Wow. And at this point, the only card Jason has to be scared of is Hugh. He can't be put in a situation where he's forced to draw all of his cards or discard his cards. I think if he plays around Hugh, there's no way he can actually lose this game.
Yeah, and it is interesting. I think Enrique actually does, if he can, wants this to go to sudden death. Because then there's just 1 prize card each, right? If we go that route.
Right.
That gives him, I guess, more options that could potentially be prized back into his deck.
Oh, there's a Team Flare Grunt. Uh-oh.
Wait a second.
Actually, that puts...
Double down. Wait a second.
Wow, that means Jason can't attack anymore. He's out of energy cards.
Oh, boy. If only Enrique could have had this happen several turns ago.
That is an incredible top deck. Oh, my goodness.
Oh, boy. Enrique's got to do everything he can to burn Jason out of time. I'm pretty sure all Jason has left at this moment is nothing. Just ways to shuffle cards back to his deck. I think he's out of energy.
Yeah, and this is where the time limit comes into play. Can Jason survive for 7 more minutes? That's all that stands between him and 3 extra turns, of course, and going to a Game 3 sudden death scenario.
And I know Enrique's certainly got to be frustrated. Time is winding down. Jason,
there's
playing all the cards
Hypnotoxic Laser.
he can.
Oh, man, if Enrique can't find any way to heal his Wailord, this could end up being big.
Yeah, and Jason has the full opportunity. He can play all these cards one at a time as long as he's got them in his hand. Anything he can do to milk the clock.
Right, and at this point, of course, without Quaking Punch, Enrique gets access to Versus Seeker and Max Potion and all that stuff. So I think in a full game, there is no way Jason would be able to knock out this last Wailord. But since we are in tournament play, a best 2 out of 3 situation, in the finals of this tournament, the clock could help Jason win this tournament.
If I'm Enrique now, I would not be searching through the discard pile. I think all you can really do is just say pass as quick as you can.
Oh my goodness. This is much more exciting than I thought this would be coming into this, Josh.
Oh, perhaps he's thinking, is it Hue time? Is it Hue time now?
Yeah, it might be. The one big card Jason has left is Colress. At this point, there's 1 benched Pokemon. So at the very least, he can Colress for 1 and shuffle a ton of cards back in. So he has a lot of turns. But there's a Trick Shovel. And what's it going to be? It looks like Computer Search.
Computer Search could be useful. Search any card out of your deck.
Yeah, I don't think Jason was going to play that card at this point, so probably one of the better discards.
Enrique actually does also have access to the Max Potion right now. Oh, but he's searching Jason's discard pile again. I just don't know if he has the luxury to spend time calculating all these things.
Right, and man, this is intense. I cannot believe this is happening right now. Jason draws his card. Wonder how many cards he has left in his deck. Can he survive 5 more minutes?
And he has an N in hand. I think Jason, just knowing how things are winding down, maybe hearing the roar of the crowd, is thinking, okay, I got to end now. That Hue's coming.
Yeah, I wonder what you do first. Do you Colress, draw 1 card, or do you N, also draw 1 card?
Yeah, I guess, either options are great.
Yeah, actually, N might not be a bad option if Enrique's holding on to something that can heal this Wailord. Could shuffle it back in and create a situation where he actually loses to the Hypnotoxic Laser.
He passes. Enrique in a situation where he can use all of his item cards. Man, I'm sure he wishes he could have discarded that last energy long, long ago.
Right.
He's got to hurry up. He has A's for heal to prevent him from losing the game, but I wonder if he's aware of how much time is left on the clock and whether or not he should be trying to work on decking Jason out.
Yeah, I mean, at this point,
as quickly as possible.
I don't know if it matters to Enrique if we go to a sudden death Game 3 or not. His strategy's the same no matter what. The situation's going to be the same no matter what. So may as well try to deck Jason out. Why not?
Yeah, I mean, if you can win this on Game 2, that's incredible. If you go to sudden death, all of a sudden your opponent can only take 1 prize card and you just lose.
All right, so we're getting down to the wire. Under 4 minutes at this point, if our timer is accurate. And there's the Colress. Shuffles his hand back into his deck. Draws a card for each benched Pokemon, which is
all 2 of
1.
them. Oh, no, 1 of them. Suicune's not on the bench any longer. It's
right.
just the 1 active. Shuffling 1. That gives Jason just so much more time.
This game is so entertaining on so many different levels. Things that would normally be seen as terrible plays, Colress drawing 1 card, all of a sudden are game-saving plays. How ridiculous is this?
Draw, pass. I'm pretty sure that's all we're going to see. If I'm Enrique, I could not extend that hand for pass as quickly as I could. Could not extend it any faster. So
and
pass,
from Jason, I'd probably shuffle through my cards as long as I could.
Yeah, I mean, you can't blame him.
All right, so here we go. Draw. He draws his N. He does have that left in his deck. So he could extend the game for at least a few more turns. Looks like he has a healthy amount of cards, probably around 8 or so. Passes the turn.
The tension's so high. We know that Enrique has this game if they can play it all the way out. But time is a factor in the Pokemon trading card game. How long is it going to take? How many more turns are we going to go through?
That's right. And Enrique's going to pass the turn again.
Not even dropping the float stone. It's like, I don't care. Drop pass. Let's go. Let's go.
Yeah, there's nothing Enrique can play at this point that will affect the state of the game except maybe Hue.
Yeah.
There's nothing else. He's already used his Trick Shovel. He's out of, well, I guess he could go for like a Team Flare Grunt or something like that if he draws Versus Seeker. Take away something, or maybe Zero Sick, maybe alter the board. But at this point, it's really just going to come down to will Jason deck out? Because we all know he is out of energy cards. He is out of Hypnotoxic Laser. He's out of ways to deal any
Draw
damage.
pass, draw pass, draw pass. The question is, when is Jason going to end? When is Enrique going to hew? Those extra turns that you can buy if you are able to drop the N while you still have a big full hand are crucial.
Yep, and Jason drawing once again. Looks
draw
like
pass.
about 5 cards left in his deck. What is the timing here? When do you play this N? Do you wait one more turn? Do you get a little greedier? Looks like it's paying off. Enrique passes once again.
The greedier Jason gets, the bigger Enrique's hew is going to be.
Right. You got to wonder, all right, so if Enrique were to play a hew next turn, Jason discards down to 5 cards. But no, he's actually just going to play it right now.
The killer.
Wow.
Oh, I was getting tense just thinking about it. If Enrique plays the hew, I think he might have enough time to deck out. It would still be close. Now I don't think he does.
Right, and he has to draw the hew, right? He's shuffling in and drawing 6. He probably still has 20 or 30 cards left in his deck. He hasn't played anything in quite some time, so the odds of him even finding hew at this point might be low.
Yeah, and we are now under 1 minute. I know Enrique wins this game in a full game, but with 60 seconds left, I think the champ has found a way to make it work.
Now, if Enrique does find hew here, he will force Jason to draw until he has 5 cards.
Yeah.
So he will have the same effect. That's the last shuffle effect Jason has. There's no more N, no more Colress. He has no more ways to shuffle cards back into his deck.
However, I did not see it. He does have Dowsing Machine. He could Dowsing Machine for a trick shovel on a turn.
Oh, yeah, that's
mill
an
one
option.
additional card.
Oh, man.
But he needs that hew. He needs that hew now.
Right,
Draw pass, draw pass. How many more turns are we going to get through before time is called?
I don't know.
It's ticking. It's ticking.
Here we go. Time's almost up. How many turns will we get
draw
here?
Draw pass.
Oh, man. The tension is so high right now.
And the crowd actually yelling out time. Not 100% sure if our timer is exactly synced with the judges this time. All right. It's pretty close, they've said.
And
all right.
time has been called.
Who is turn 0 then?
I'm not sure, but I don't think it matters. There's too many cards in Jason's deck.
Oh, my goodness. He's held on for long enough. Enrique's already extending the hand.
Enrique understands the situation. We are going to game number 3.
Wow. Look at Jason. Look at that cheeky smile. He knows the bullet he dodged.
Wow.
Oh, my goodness. We played it all the way down to time, but guess what? We got some more. We're going to overtime.
How does he do it, Josh? No matter what's thrown at him, auto losses, whale lords he can't knock out. How does he continue to find ways to win?
He's pretty smart. Jason has done some crazy things before, and this has certainly got to be up there on his bucket list. Survive the insurmountable odds. We're going into overtime. Both players are going to shuffle up. And now, in this sudden death, it is as scary as it gets for Enrique. 1 prize, and that's it.
I said earlier, this will probably be the longest sudden death game in the history of the Pokemon TCG. I can't expect this to end anytime soon, of course, with Enrique having so many healing cards and discarding cards. It's definitely going to be long and drawn out, and I do think there is some outside chance he can win. Right?
Yeah, it's possible. He goes through a game, denies every single prize card. It can happen. Jason's going to need to start something like Trubbish again or Shaman, something that he's got to retreat. And Enrique's going to have to be able to play as many of his item cards as he can. It's certainly possible, but it's not quite as probable. We've seen the last 2 games, Jason was able to take 5 prize cards.
Yeah, and I think the unfortunate part for Enrique is Jason can be patient. Right? If he opens up with 4 energy, a Shaman, and a Sycamore, he doesn't have to play Sycamore. He's not in danger of losing. So he can actually just sit there and draw and draw and draw until he finally draws the right combination of cards.
The clock is no longer a factor.
Right.
Jason had to do some plays that he might not have done ideally. Some of those Sycamores he played, he can just hold now. He only needs 1. He doesn't need to play the 4 prize game.
And this is crazy. I can't believe this is happening. Wow, we got 1 game left. I would say Jason definitely the favorite at this point. Wow. So let's make some noise for these 2 players. Jason Kozinski overcoming the odds in that one. Enrique all the way to the final. We have 1 game left. This is it. This will decide your new U.S. national champion for 2015.
This has been one of the longest, slowest championship games you've ever seen, but look at how excited all these Pokemon fans are. They are such huge fans of the trading card game. They understand even though not a lot has happened, in some ways everything has happened.
All right, and
They've
the
seen it
showdown
all.
begins. Wailord versus Seismitoad. And who will win? One prize for each player. The first person to take a prize will win. Of course, Enrique can't take prizes, so if he runs Jason out of cards, he will win. But that's an even loftier task when you only have one prize card to put out.
Drops that team flair. Why not? Take that. Disrespect.
Yeah, and I think Jason's just trying to get this done as quickly as possible.
Can you imagine? He's this close to saying, hey, I'm national champion. I did it. I've won Worlds and Nationals.
Right, but you can't just rush in there. You could blow this game. I mean, it seems pretty obvious. Eventually, you'll take that prize card and win. Enrique can't stop you forever, right? But, yeah, if you get a little too aggressive and burn through your cards, you could deck out and lose.
I just thought of something really nasty, too. If any of these players ever decides to drop an N because we're in the one prize sudden death, each player's drawing one card.
Yep.
So if Jason ends up getting in an offensive position, you know, a laser, even a double, and he just drops N, Enrique's down to one card and at the mercy of a top deck to survive.
That's right. Just another reason why Jason could be at an advantage in this game. But for the time being, both players just drawing and passing. Jason not wanting to overextend. Enrique can't do anything because it all depends on what his opponent does. But draw, pass, back and forth. Oh, my goodness. When is the first thing going to happen?
And it's funny. Earlier, I was thinking about how, you know, if Enrique just has one prize left in sudden death, that's 5 more cards in his deck, 5 more resources. I almost think he might have been better served scooping that second game, going straight to game 3, because the N is such a powerful disruption tool against him now. One of the best things about Wailord was being able to say, hey, every N gives you 6 cards.
Yeah, something interesting that could happen is, I mean, Shaman EX has Sky Return, so we could see a weird spot where, you know, Jason puts a Floatstone on a Seismitoad, puts down a Shaman with a double colorless, retreats, and uses Sky Return, and just does 30 damage that way, and he could play an N. That would guarantee him a full 6 off a setup in case Enrique top decks something.
Yeah, it truly would lead to the longest sudden death game we've ever had.
Oh, and there's Hard Charm. That's going to make it even longer.
That makes Sky Return just a little bit weaker, if it does happen.
All right, so Jason top decks Computer Search, opts not to play it, maybe waiting to get some big combo. I think, like you said, Josh, he wants to wait for a big end to 1, maybe go for Laser, Verbank, Muscle Band, double colorless, and then N Enrique to 1 and try to just go for the win.
I actually don't know if there's any way Enrique can pull this off. He would need perfect draws once that N does drop. And Jason just needs one prize card.
Oh, Hugh. There we go. We're seeing Hugh. So both players discard down to 5 cards at this point. Enrique going to be dumping a bunch of stuff. Jason probably going to discard irrelevant cards like Lysander. Looks like, I mean, if he has any Crushing Hammer, those would get discarded. Looks like he's opting for Professor Sycamore as well.
I don't need this Sycamore. You know, I can afford to be slow now.
Right.
And who knows, he's probably got a bunch of them in there. Look how big that hand is. Hammers, those are gone. Those would be the first to hit the discard pile.
Yeah, Shaman EX. I mean, even Floatstone at this point, I don't think you would bench any Pokemon in this scenario. Maybe if Enrique gets Suicune out, that could create an awkward spot with Rough Seas and AZ, or maybe you might need Garbodor out. But
there goes the hammer. He's got to keep discarding until he has 5 cards.
Right. So Ultra Ball goes away, and N2 N go away. I mean, you won't need all 4 of them. I mean, my goodness, if 4 N get played in this game, we're going to be here way past schedule.
Oh man, I hope you all brought snacks. And if anybody wants to bring me one, I'm not going to hurt you.
All right, so finally
Pokemon might hurt me.
Finally discarding down to 5 cards. Hugh, an interesting decision. Enrique had his cards picked out already, and Jason's going to take a look through those. It's like Rough Seas, Enhanced Hammer, Probably some other cards that he doesn't need.
Oh, man. Jason, many times the pinnacle of a Pokemon trading card game player with patience. And now he has all the time in the world. Nothing's ticking against him.
Yep, draws the Seismitoad EX, decides to pass. Enrique draws, decides to pass. Muscle Band, that could be the first relevant card we see.
Yeah, I mean, now could be the time. I think he wants perfection before he plays the Sen. He could have, grabbed a double, slapped down a Muscle Band, and started off with Quaking Punches. I think he wants the perfect setup. He wants Verbank City, Hypnotoxic Laser, Double Colorless, and Muscle Band. And once he has all those things, I don't see any reason for him not to drop the N.
Yeah, I mean, it could create a silly situation where, like, Enrique gets a Team Flare Grunt off of his N.
Yeah.
And then Jason can't Quaking Punch, and now he's at one card, and it could get a little weird. But, yeah, I think the highest percentage play that gets him the win the fastest is that play you're talking about. Double Colorless, Verbank, Laser, Muscle Band.
It's possible, too. He can also try and, outlast like he did last time. Just continually attach energy to Wailord. Or, sorry, not Wailord, Seismitoad. Be a little defiant about it. I see two blue rectangles in the middle of this blue-colored national emblem. It's all starting to blend together.
So we did see a 0-sick from Jason on the previous turn, discarding Hard Charm. That is very relevant. That minus 20 damage from Hard Charm is a pretty big deal. So let's see. Oh, we see the double colorless energy. Is this the turn? Jason goes for it.
I'm sure you can hear the roar of the crowd, but Jason does want to play on his own strengths. Here we go.
All right, so we have that double colorless Muscle Band.
I was talking about perfection. I know there's a computer search at the end of this. He's got all the pieces.
All right, so this is going to be the most exciting moment of this match. Will Enrique draw to this inevitable end to one? You'll have a couple turns since, of course, Wailord is impossible to knock out. But, yeah, it'll come down to the one or two cards he'll draw off of N.
And the other weird thing, I'm looking at Enrique's deck. He does not run a lot of options to help him draw cards. I think N normally served that sort of purpose. It's terrible here. He runs one Shauna, which I suppose could do it for him. But yeah, he's going to need more stuff immediately.
Yeah, and something else I noticed. I know Enrique had a Suicune in his hand. He opted not to play it down. I think if an N you know is incoming, you might want to put down Suicune. That way, if you get N, you can draw an AZ or a Cassius and stop the laser damage from knocking you out.
Yeah, it gives you just one more option. I think he's lost it now, though. I can't imagine Jason not ending this turn with an N.
But anything can happen.
Anything can happen.
That's right. So we see Hypnotoxic Laser. Here we go, folks. That's going to poison that Wailord EX, and we are going to see the end to one.
There it is. Now, I'm sure Enrique really hoping he dropped that Suicune. This Wailord is on its last legs. Enrique's drawing one card. I'm looking at his list. What do you think is the best thing he can draw?
That's tough.
It's like, if he draws energy removal, he's still falling to poison.
He gets two cards, so I think...
Oh, that's true. He gets to draw one and then an additional top deck.
Right, so I think a big one would be a Team Flare Grunt or a Zero Sick, if he can draw that, and also a Rough Seas. That'll go a long way to buying him tons of time.
That would be the perfect two cards. With Rough Seas, the poison damage doesn't even really matter. Oh, that's not going to do it.
All right, here we go. Quaking Punch. What does Enrique draw?
Another
Wailord and a Hard Charm.
Oof. That doesn't matter at all when it's just one prize card left.
And this could be one of the last turns here. We see a Shadow Triad getting a Hypnotoxic Laser. Won't play that, but at least he'll get it back. And here we go. This top deck decides it. Does Enrique draw a card to help him live in this game?
Is Jason going to topple the largest hurdle he's ever faced, a 250 HP one?
And what does he draw?
It's Cassius! Oh! Here we go again!
Wailord lives on. Oh, Jason was so close to winning this tournament, but again, Enrique...
He's still in a decent spot. He has another Hypnotoxic Laser. And,
man, this is incredible.
Oh, boy.
All right, so yes, Jason did have that Shadow Triad. He also drew a very fortunate card off of his N. He does have another Hypnotoxic Laser. He can repeat this sequence, and Enrique will be forced to top deck cards once again.
Ooh, and a Versus Seeker for Jason. That could be yet another Hypnotoxic Laser if he so chooses. It's just a very versatile card for him to have in general.
Here we go, Hypnotoxic Laser, poisoning that Wailord EX. We'll see if he wants to use that Versus Seeker. There's really not anything he wants here. Maybe he could go for a Sycamore and just try to solidify his position, try to draw another double colorless energy.
Oh my goodness, yeah, Versus Seeker, Sycamore gives him a whole big hand while Enrique's stuck in top deck
card.
land.
That's insurance right there, another double colorless energy, and he can even play a head ringer if he really wants.
Why not? Additional disrespect. I gotta say, if anything, Enrique certainly made Jason work for this.
Oh, absolutely. Enrique was so close to being national champion here. Just a few more turns, and I think he would have had it. Here we go, Quaking Punch.
Oh, Rough Seas.
All right, we'll see if Wailord wakes up. It does, and Rough Seas. Oh, that's going to make this even more difficult to knock out.
Yeah, it's biding Enrique the time that he so desperately needs. But Jason now with a full new hand. Oh, another double. Why not?
Yeah,
Pile
sure.
them all up.
All right, so at this point, if Jason has another Sycamore, he may dig to try to find another Burbank City gym. Again, Enrique has one card. We know that's a hard charm. Every turn, he's going to need to top deck something, whether it's a Shauna to get him 5 fresh cards, or maybe it's a, I don't even know. Energy removal cards can't do anything at this point.
Whoa, Jason was just a second from dropping that Trubbish. Not saying that Enrique has all these options. He just has one card in hand, but that could open up something crazy.
Yeah, I think Jason is thinking through his options and seeing how can I lose, and I think one of them is
drop
Suicune.
It with Floatstone.
Yeah.
There we go.
So there's the Floatstone. If Enrique were to get a Suicune out with Safeguard, Jason might not be able to knock it out. So puts that Trubbish down with the Floatstone for insurance. With one card in hand, pretty likely Enrique won't get a Zero Sick and then a Lysander. So here we go. Another Professor Sycamore. I think there's some confusion there.
Jason may be thinking, is there something else I should have done instead? Can I take that back?
I think they're discussing whether or not Jason's already played a supporter card. He has not, so he'll draw that fresh hand of 7 cards. Good thing the judges at least asked about that, though. We don't want to see this game end like that.
No Verbank, but he does have more lasers if Enrique does end up healing.
All right, so another Quaking Punch. What does Enrique draw for the turn this time?
And he can bring Jason back down to nothing if he ever decides to.
All right, so we see Rough Seas being used, putting Wailord EX down to... Oh, and he opts not to play the N.
Yeah, it's so hard. You know, he knows when he plays N.
And the Water Energy, one step closer to a Grenade Hammer that would certainly finish off this series.
I think out of desperation, he's got to play that N this turn.
Yeah, I might have even played that last turn. He has an AZ. He can pick it up and lose the tournament on his own terms.
Honorable discharge, bringing Whale back to his hand for one last big hug.
All right, here we go. Does Jason find the Water Energy to Grenade Hammer at this point?
He has a lot of ways to draw. Only a few Water Energy in the deck, but I think Jason has a good chance at finding it. There's a Shaman in there. He can burn these lasers if he really wants to be aggressive. I'm sure he wants it, but I'm sure he also knows he's in such a good spot he can probably be a little conservative too.
Absolutely.
You can take 2 turns instead of 1, and it's...
Enrique did draw AZ for the turn, so if he can top deck Suicune or another Wailord, that is one way for him to buy even more time. 4 double colorless energy on that Seismitoad EX. Not enough to Grenade Hammer, though.
Oh,
this is it. What does Enrique draw?
Oh, he doesn't have another Pokemon. That's it. That's it.
Well, he's at 200 damage right now. Puts the
AZ
AZ
back to hand.
And Jason Kozinski is your 2015 U.S. National Champion.